So welcome to Talking Element. This is week 11. The sermon is all about prayer, or really being honest before God in the places that we struggle. But today what we wanted to do is kind of gear more towards our Agape meals and what we're trying to have you accomplish in those. So,
Hi. We're here.
So what is the goal of our Agape meals then?
To have them, for one.
Yes.
Good start.
You're right. So there's a celebration of coming together where we're doing this. Some groups like yours are going to be meeting outside. Mm-hmm. Mine will be here in the barn. Yours is in your living room?
Yeah, mine's in the living room. Yeah.
So each group will look different. We'll have a different look and feel. But really, it's a time to come together, to celebrate, to give thanks. We thought we would also bring along the songs of ascent, this journey up the hill.
Now, there are a couple things in the message where I kind of run towards more, which is the ideas of taking all the things that we really don't want to share and be open in front of other people to God himself. Because when we are really honest about our lives and we try and hide it because we all want to be accepted. We all have a level of acceptance that we expect from other people and from ourselves. And when we don't meet that, we kind of just spiral inside. And part of what the psalm is doing is, talking to how God comes and pulls us out of that. And in going to an Agape meal, if you're part of a GC, hopefully they know you, but maybe new people show up. And what is that level of them coming in, and where is their honesty, and how much grace do we show people? How much do we go to prayer and understand the communication with God? And do we expect people to pray there, or are they going to be like, this is odd?
What level of honesty do we want in our prayers?
Yeah. Because there are questions in here to ask people who are sitting around the table about hardships. How has this year been? And, the standard thing that people are going to say is going to be like, fine, yeah, okay, great, better than last year, or not really better than last year. But it's kind of, we respond how we think people want us to respond.
Yeah.
And, part of the meal is you've got a decent amount of time that you can be honest, and you don't have to stay all the way down in the dumps the entire time. You can come back up and chit chat, but it's okay to go a little bit deeper in some places.
Right.
So what's different for you this year than last year, coming into like Agape and Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that?
Household size.
I was going to say, yeah. So things are a little different.
That was an easy one.
Something's different. Well, I'm married with a kid now. So last Thanksgiving, Hillary met the family. Okay, this is how quickly my life has changed over the past year. I remember last Thanksgiving, there was shock of this relationship's probably going a little further than I think they thought it was going. And so there was some shock and awe. This year, we're actually opening our home on Thanksgiving to some people who don't have family. So for us, this season has been drastically different, and in good ways, but also in just we're much busier, and so it is harder to try to find time to relax. And
is there excitement though? Because since there is almost a different feel of the world this year going into this, because it's whether it's vaccines or people just over the whole thing, I think more people are willing to gather together now.
Definitely. I think that there's a lot of, like you said, I think a lot of people are just over it. Mm-hmm. I don't look forward to continued political conversations or conversations that intentionally not divide people. Mm-hmm. And so I'm hoping to avoid all those conversations. And I think this year, more than last year, I think we can see God doing things, or we can at least see what God was doing last year,
right?
More clearly than I think I could last year during this time.
Yeah. Well, my wife works on Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I still look forward to getting together. But when Marianne's not there, I don't have someone to tell me, hey, when it's time to go home, or hey, you can't go home yet. We need to stay and be here longer.
Social norms.
So, yeah, tell me what the social norms are, because Aaron's clueless half the time to what they are. What do you look forward to?
A lot of things. For one, just having it this year. I missed that last year. There is this kind of renewed appreciation, I think, to gather together like this. We're in a new neighborhood this year, and oh my gosh, you guys, so many people have moved in. I have so many new neighbors. So there's a lot of just new things going on in our neighborhood, kind of this natural time to connect. So that's why we're kind of approaching ours the way we are. We're having a picnic in the green belt. What you said totally resonated with me. There's a lot of heaviness right now, and not going to deny that, and answering these questions together. But I think that's the radical, crazy hope of the gospel is even with all of this going on, as much as we've all been hurting through some of this, there's reasons to be grateful. And I'm hoping that's a powerful message.
Well, I think that's also a big deal of looking at the Psalms of Ascent, because the last one is going to actually be hope. And that's kind of where it all goes. It goes to a place of hope. And even when things are difficult or conversations get hard or we don't have the answers, I think as believers and understanding our redemption, we should naturally start moving towards the places of hope and helping one another understand hope as well. So what would you guys do if you're in the middle of like one of these conversations? Oh, someone comes and they have like a really heavy thing of someone's in the hospital and I don't know what to do with that, or political things, we're angry about this and the government's doing this. How do we keep moving people back to a place of hope where they're not centered on the sad thing? Not that that's not something we shouldn't talk about, but how do we move people back to hope?
I think the first step is we do have to listen to them and actually hear what they're saying and validate. Not saying you don't do that, but validate, the struggle and the realities of life, and I think that's a first step, because if we gloss too quickly over that, they won't hear anything else. And then I think the Songs of Ascent really has helped in some of this. We look at a place, we look at where does our help come from, right? Our help does not come from whatever we think it's coming.
The mountains.
Right, the mountains, or if this political candidate wins or not, or if, as sad as it is, if so-and-so comes home from the hospital, like we want these things, we want change, we want things to be what we think is better. However, our help isn't found there, salvation isn't found there, and what is it that we're really seeking to change or fulfill within ourselves that I think we have to get to be honest about before we can really then apply the gospel truths to it.
Validating doesn't mean I am agreeing with you. Validating only means that I'm listening to you and I hear that this does affect you in this way.
So I agree. I think that's a great first step in validating. You're basically telling someone, I see the pain you're in. And I think as believers with that too, conveying not only do I see it, but there's a God that sees this and knows this, and he's revealed himself as man of sorrows, right? That knows the depths of pain more than we ever do. But beyond that, and this is where the hope is, he's actually overcome it. And he's promised to do something about it and is working in a broken world and has painted this picture of a new reality coming in where things are going to be made right. And that's where the hope is. It's comfort in the pain and a future hope we're given.
But what about the present reality of it too? I think that's where community comes in and walking alongside one another, because God is faithful, God does show up, and it can be in his person, it can be in his spirit just coming and boom and enveloping a place. It can be God doing a miracle like bringing this guy home from the hospital, or it is also in one another that God sends us to each other, because we are called to be his priests and ambassadors, his hands and feet. That's we are those that God sends. And I think it's also important to get that people understand who God is and his grace and his love by how his people live that out with each other.
You did the TRIDUUM series, right? You did Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And sitting in the Saturday is really important theology for us to understand as believers, that it may feel like an endless cycle of trauma or despair or suffering, and like you said, our God knows that. He experienced the ultimate separation from himself in a way that we cannot know, and I think that, at least for me, that comforts me. That comforts me in the here and now. In the present of knowing that
he was in the tomb on Saturday.
He was in the tomb, and there's hope for tomorrow, and sometimes tomorrow is tomorrow, and sometimes tomorrow is undetermined for us. But also recounting, like you said, in the blessings, is all too often we don't write down our blessings. We don't remember all the ways God has blessed us, and when we do, it helps. It helps point to get me out of my myopic viewpoint, and it helps change my mindset just a little bit.
I'm thinking about what you said, the present reality. It's like for right now on this side of heaven or eternity breaking in, I don't have to do it alone.
Mm-hmm. Gospel presence.
Even though I feel alone sometimes, to me it's that and a future hope. That's what there is.
Mm-hmm. So how do these meals then display that current and future hope?
Well, sometimes they don't, right? Sometimes they, no, I'm being honest. We've done through a lot of Agape meals, and sometimes I get bogged down with logistics and just overwhelmingness of the night or the afternoon.
And it's a thing to do.
It's a thing to do. And I've checked that off, and then I can slide into Thanksgiving and be able, so sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Ideally, it points us all back to who Jesus is, and it points us to that future hope. If we take the time to really reflect and to be present with others, then I think what it does is it reshapes and resets us for the week to come.
Yeah, I find when we're doing them, there's all the logistical work, and then it's like everything, and finally you sit down, and that's when I go.
It's a very tangible reminder where we have a community, as imperfect as it may be, that we get to go through this life with other people, sharing, I hope through the questions, through people being honest, sharing the joys and burdens of life and whatever season that God has placed us in. And with that too, like my hope is really through conversation, that wherever the people may be in their own spiritual walk or journey, that, you know, I talk to at our meal, that it can be an opportunity to point them to Jesus.
I think around the meal, you just start and be like, what is the hardest thing you went through since COVID began? What is it? And let everybody do that. And then say, now, what are you most thankful for? Mm-hmm. And if there's a lot of people who aren't connected to Element, who maybe aren't believers, that might be a nice way just to get them to share something that they can do with a group and feel validated in that, mm-hmm. and then pray over the meal and stuff. And that's a kind of maybe way to start the whole conversation too.
Yeah.
So with that, we're actually going to release this episode of Talking About a little early to get us thinking about our Agape meals, to be thinking about what we'd like us to talk about, our goals. So this is going to get released early. If you're watching this and aren't in a GC and haven't signed up to join one or haven't been invited personally and you'd like to come to one, please feel free. You can sign up. I'll put a link in the description notes below. Or show up Sunday the 21st for 4:30 p.m. at Elements Bar. And our GC will glad to have you. We're partnering with the youth group, and anyone can come, and we're gonna try to have enough food. If you wanna bring something, great, bring something to share. And we hope to see you there.
This is about prayer. You wanna pray us out, Michelle?
Ooh, nice. Okay. Father God, thanks so much that you even allow us to talk to you this freely, and this intimately and casually, and that even our relationship isn't so dependent on our words and how we talk to you, because you search our hearts and you know us even better than we do ourselves. I pray that whatever season of life each of us is in, that you would reveal more truth about who you are, and that would give us greater hope for the present, for the joys and struggles of life, and that we would have an even greater future hope of a world that's made right because of who you are and the promises that you've made. I pray that these Agape meals are really just a great celebratory time to gather together, even though there may be some lament and hardship, that we can share gratitude for the opportunity to be together. And for those of us that follow you, that it would be a reminder of just how good you are and how you are present with us, that we would be able to share that hope with those around us. We love you. Amen.